So these are the dolls that I make. These are the dolls that I've made in the last 6 months. Very different design. This one is a muñeca, a doll with strings. I've yet to string him. These ones are more African design. And these ones are ceremonial that I've made out of different fabrics. I've studied dolls for myself some time, ceremonial. My interest is more in African dolls, in a type of doll called a Nikisi. In some ways it looks slightly voodoo-ish because it includes a lot of sharp object going into it, but these are protection dolls with very benevolent intention. I first started an interest in dolls, I suppose, when I was very young, maybe when I was 5 or 6, when we didn't have much money in our family, so for toys I would play with my mum's old dolls, not Barbies, but they were these kind of very cosmopolitan little dolls that were going around in in the 70s. And then this kind of tailed off, nothing much happened, but when I was back in England some years ago, maybe 10 years ago, I had an idea for a project to start making ceremonial dolls and to throw them up a tree and to have this tree covered in dolls. And I made 20 dolls around this size and threw them in this tree, but the tree was so huge that no one would ever see these dolls. and so after a while, this was a project. It was for my intention, what I was trying to do here, it was not working out. And then when I went to Belarus to see my wife's family, I made a very nice doll for my grandmother-in-law. And this kind of reignited doll making for me. And so I found myself here with all these dolls. It seems to be something that is coming back for me again. And I'm working now on a workshop, power doll workshop, which will be done here in Sacred Valley. I already advertised it to a few people, and I seem to have a lot of interest, and I already have a place in Urubamba. So this is, this has been something that's with me a while, and it stays with me, and it keeps resurfacing periodically. I see the dolls as magical figures. They reflect the magical parts of us. I emphasize on certain parts of the dolls, depending on what the magical intention is for these. And so I feel like there should be more dolls in the modern world. I mean, not dolls like Barbie dolls, or dolls that trying to look at the most, trying to emphasize or exaggerate the most perfect parts of a human being, but rather to be more playful and to be more creative in creating dolls that are So this doll is a muñeca. It's a traditional European doll. It's made, all the dolls are made from found materials. You can see this is actually some part of mesh, wood, fabrics that I found, wood from the street. And this is my first time making a muñeca. This is the first time I've tried to make a doll like this. I haven't strung it up yet, but when I do, it'll be a fully moving doll with a hand pilot as well. This doll is much more ceremonial, much more mystical. Again, made from found materials. I like to have some flexibility in the dolls, so they can be slightly posable. But it's very much, I don't know how the doll is going to turn out, and they generally turn out very interesting when I don't have a purpose with them. This doll is, actually I turned him into a necklace, but as you can see, it's more in the style of Haitian or Mississippi voodoo style. It's actually made from parts that I found on a beach in Spain: driftwood, crab cage, crab trap, and also cactus from this particular part of Andalusia. And again, posable doll. This one I made by sewing. I also like to sew. I don't use glue in any of my dolls. I only bind. So I bind or hammer together. So this one is one that is sewn, bound together. You can see it's more of an expression of energy. It's more of an energetic expression. And a soft doll. And this one is when I found this very interesting piece of wood here with this wall inside. So I decided to build a doll around that. This involved carving as well. Mainly when I make these dolls, I use 3 or 4 different types of discipline. I involve carving, binding, sewing, and nailing together. I don't use glue because I just never occurred to me in my research of doll making, like traditional doll making, that people ever use glue. I think the most interesting dolls are where you use your own intelligence to make it fit together. And also when you use these techniques to make the doll, they have more tension. And the more tension you apply, the more energy the doll seems to have. And this is how I make the dolls in my particular style and how they come out.
And how can you see your future with the dolls, yeah?
I would love that the dolls become something that people were more interested in, and that I could display them or show them and teach people how to make them. That is what I'm doing with this workshop. I'm working on a poster at the moment. As you can see there's one ceremonial or power doll poster that I'm working on, and this can be a way to give this thing a little bit more energy and to make it into something that is more interesting, that has more life, and that more people.
So how it says in the headline, Power
Doll Workshop.
Let me see. Power Doll Workshop.
Yeah, it can be power doll or ceremonial doll or magic doll. You know, I'm working with a name, trying to find a fitting name for it. All of the names.
So where did you find material for this?
On the street, on the beach, in the forest. I like old rusty. When I use metals, I use the rusty metals. I like to find metals that have some age with it.
Sí, en la montaña es mucho frío y ahora está haciendo más frío. Pero ahora en este hospedaje es al lado de río. Mi cabeza es